All right, to write this as a radical, what you do is, as a radical, you know there's going to be x there. Remember, the root is at the bottom. Roots are the bottom of a tree. So the 7 is the bottom, so that will be the root. So the 7 is going to go there. And the 3 is what's left over. That will go right there. So always remember, the root is at the bottom, because roots are at the bottom, underground. All right. Now you might also want to write this, that x to the a over b is equal to x. That right there, you might want to write in your notes, because that is the basic structure of it. If you forget that roots are underground, didn't do the structure. Okay? Next one. How do you solve this? Well, some of you could just look at this and see the answer. Power to you. I think a lot of you could look at this and say 49. The square root of 49, 7. Done. But what you're technically doing to solve this is to undo a square root, you are going to square both sides. When you do that, you have x equals 7 squared, which is 49. Now let's check it before I for sure say it's my answer. Let's plug it in. Is the square root of 49 equal to 7? Meaning, I plugged 49 in for x. Is this a true statement? Yes, it is. So we are good. So that is my answer. So make sure when you solve, some of you can see it. Some of you will have to do the steps. For instance, this one, can you just see the answer? No, probably not. You probably have to do some steps here. Okay, so how do we get rid of that 3/4 power? Well, we are going to power by the reciprocal of that. The reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3. Why did I want to power both sides by the reciprocal? Well, here's why. Because won't the reciprocal become 1? When you multiply these two, don't you get 1? Which is x to the first, which is x. Now the next thing is, how do you find the value of this? Here's where this gets a little tricky. I have to figure out what this equals. And there are different ways of doing that, but here's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to leave something to the 4/3 power. I'm going to rewrite negative 27 in here so that when I take it to the 4/3 power, it nicely simplifies. Now, see the third here? I want to make this something to a 3rd power. Because that's a 3rd, I want something to a 3rd power, so I know I want a 3rd power here. And I want to do something to a 3rd power. So what to the 3rd power gives you negative 27? What's that going to be? 3. Hopefully you can see that would be negative 3. You got to do some problem solving here. Now, won't 3 to the 4/3 power, don't you multiply those? Don't the 3's cancel, leaving you 4? 3's cancel, leaving you 4. So what I have now is x equals negative 3 to the 4th power. All right. That's not my answer yet. So what is negative 3 to the 4th power? Well, that is x equals negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. What do you get when you do all that? 81. X equals positive 81. But we have to check it, because that might not work. And if you think about it, let's just pause and look at this. If I have 81 to the 3/4 power, does that equal negative 27? Well, could you ever power something and get a negative out? That doesn't make any sense. So right now you can tell, no, that doesn't work. But some of you might not be able to tell just by looking. So what you're going to do here is you're going to take 81 and break it down. 81 is really 3 to the 4th. Does this equal negative 27? Won't those cancel? No, it doesn't. 3 to the 3rd does not equal negative 27. So guess what? This answer right here does not work. there is no solution. So make sure you start checking your answers, because sometimes your answer does not work. Make sure you check. Sometimes you can do it by logic. Sometimes you have to check the work. It all depends, but not always will your answer work when you're dealing with radicals.